In most fantasy literature, there are gods and goddesses. And if you're like me, when you think of the term god, you think of a good, moral being, a higher entity that loves humanity. And if there are gods and goddesses in fantasy stories, they usually have some sort of loving god. The Elder Scroll has Mara. Hades, obviously based on the real Greek literature, has Aphrodite. Elden Ring has Mikola, maybe? But Fear and Hunger has Sylvian, a god that loves humanity so much that they cannot reciprocate it. However, with love existing in the world, so does the opposite also have to exist: hate and destruction. With the introduction of destruction here in the video, we have the god Gro-Goroth, the god of destruction in the Fear and Hunger universe. Ironically, however, he is the husband and counterpart to Sylvian, the goddess of love, because there is no such thing as evil in the Fear and Hunger universe. Gro-Goroth is not a bad god or anything like that. He is just a force of nature like everything else, because there can be no love without hate. There can be no creation without destruction. And without chaos and change, there can be no growth. This is something kind of similar that Gro-Goroth and the god of Fear and Hunger share. Now, like I sort of hinted at a second ago, old gods have left the world of Fear and Hunger long ago. They grew disinterested with humanity and left. However, there are traces left. These traces are just like the laws of nature. They don't exist to be worshipped or to worship. They just exist. It'd like be the equivalent of worshipping gravity. It just doesn't make sense. Nothing is there to be worshipped or to gain from your worship, except maybe Isaac Newton. However, that is just the nature of the old gods. Gro-Goroth, Rare, Sylvian, Venushka, the god of the depths. They're all gone, or dead. However, that doesn't mean that people still don't worship them anyway, as learning the teachings from these gods in the past can grant magical prowess, such as learning the teachings from Sylvian and indulging in love she brought to the world. One can be granted healing magic from learning these teachings. This brings us to the Yellow Mages. Yellow Mages are just like the worshippers of Sylvian, however it's just the opposite. These Yellow Mages follow the blood and destruction magic of Gro-Goroth, however they don't worship Gro-Goroth. They sort of use him in a way. They revel in the chaos because, as they say, chaos is the only constant in this world, so therefore they have no hierarchy or anything really. They worship nothing. They revel in the chaos. They more so observe Gro-Goroth rather than worship him. The closest thing they have to a leader is a new god named Nashra, who I covered him on my first lore videos, which you can see here on the top of your screen. Strangely, however, one of their customs is they are not allowed to use guns, which is kind of strange because there's not much guns are used for other than pure destruction. Whether the destruction is justified or not, guns can be considered tools of Gro-Goroth, or his influence in a way. It's an aspect of destruction just like swords, so why is it that Yellow Mages can use swords but not guns? I have no idea. However, this is not a video on Yellow Mages, but a video on Gro-Goroth. So let's get back to him. To give room for new generations, for new trees to grow and usher, the prior forest needs to be burnt down. Such is the rule of creation. Creation and destruction. One does not exist without the other. The destruction is called Gro-Goroth, the destroyer of men. And men fear destruction, because a man gets accustomed to the peace and quiet. The man grows fat and afraid of change, but change is inevitable, just as Gro-Goroth. But there is no need for fear, as the destruction is of a pure kind. It does not target one man specifically, it just exists. Interesting note on Gro-Goroth, he is a curious kind, more so than any other of the older gods. To relieve the feeling of fear, Gro-Goroth wears bodies in the skin of men and women alike. He might still be walking among us, masked under the skin of people and hanging bodies, blessing us with his blood magic. Studies of Gro-Goroth. That is how the studies of Gro-Goroth describe him in Fear and Hunger 1. However, Gro-Goroth is slightly different from the other older gods, as in the past he walked the earth as a human, or at the very least wore human skin to observe humanity. He is an inquisitive god, and used to be very interested in humanity. As far as we are aware, no other god walked among man as one of their own. A possible reason I can think of is that humanity is not as Sylvian and Vitruvia designed. As we've discussed on this channel before, it's possible that he didn't like the imperfection and hate humanity could possess. But Gro-Goroth was interested, so he observed, just like we did for him for his destruction magic. After Gro-Goroth did this, however, the city where the old gods used to be for, Mahabra, was taken over by humans. Gro-Goroth, now realizing how disgusting humans were by observing him, and how their thoughts of him were so different from the pure form of destruction that he truly was, Gro-Goroth hated this, so he left. However, as a parting gift, he did show mankind how to use his destruction magic. The spells Gro-Goroth can grant include blood magic, hurting spells, black orb, etc., etc. One can get favor and observe him more by using human sacrifices in his summoning circles, as well as sacrificing one's own blood in his own summoning circles. In the ending B of Fear and Hunger, the player, along with Nashra himself, make their way to the darkness at the bottom of the God of the Depths, where some trace of Gro-Goroth still slumbered. Gro-Goroth then wakes up and fights you. However, once again, this is not the real Gro-Goroth, just some trace of him that is left. Before he fights you, however, Nashra will, in his infinite wisdom, spurts out that he plans to kill Gro-Goroth himself and then is burned to a crisp, but survives, as is pretty custom for a new god. You know, unkillable and all. Then he will start the fight with you, which, if I may say so myself, is the hardest fight in the first game. After which he will tell you that he can show you what pure destruction is. He can show you what it really is, and not whatever you may think. But wait, if he tells you, it might kill you. Humans were not meant to comprehend true destruction. You can say whether you want to hear it or not, but either way he will tell you because he's kind of a dick. He will show you true destruction, which is both what he considers destruction and everyone else that has ever lived's idea of destruction too, because all of them are real. All of them are some form of true destruction in the minds of the people. So he is showing you everyone and everything's true idea of destruction all at once. You then die knowing what true destruction is and learning some form of enlightenment. However, it is only one small bit of information that you could have learned from the Dungeon of Fear. And with that, let's get into some theories about Gro-Goroth, which is pretty custom for these lore videos at the end. There's a theory that Gro-Goroth is a sun god as well. His symbol is an eclipse, and a sun god is shown in Mahabharata. Then, after he leaves the world, the sun leaves Mahabharata as well. Well, another theory is the sun isn't gone in Mahabharata. I think I've heard a theory that it's eclipsed instead, just like his symbol. However, just like most theories, this could all be completely false. Like, there is nothing that says Mahabharata's sun is not just the real sun, and it's just black because it's underground now. But it's just a theory. There are also several theories on where Gro-Goroth's name comes from. The one that makes the most sense to me is that in Lovecraftian lore, from specifically the Cthulhu mythos, and even more specifically Robert E. Howard's part of the Cthulhu mythos, this deity looks like a giant black slug and becomes whatever the person viewing him's worst fear is. So in my case, it would be a really hot woman that wants me, oh no. This entity is called Gro-Goroth in Lovecraftian lore, which is pretty easy to see the inspiration there. It could also be inspired from Gro-Goroth, a country in the Lord of the Rings universe. However, I doubt that this was the inspiration, and it might just be a coincidence. But with that, that brings us to an end of the Gro-Goroth video. If you want any other lore videos covered, please post in the comments and I'd be happy to oblige. Haha, I'm not running out of video ideas, what are you talking about? Ha ha ha. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all so much and I appreciate all the support I get.